So earlier today, we had seen a front page paper of Punch where children, primary school, public school pupils were sitting on the floor. And then begs the question of where is the UBEC funding, the support funding for basic education across the country? Where is it going? And what are the plans for also the state governments and the local government to ensure they have, they provide adequate infrastructure for basic education? That's our conversation. You can call us on the numbers on your screen, 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. As Nima said earlier, we'll not talk too much about the Lagos states or the states that are actually having serious intervention, because I know that Edo is one, Edo state, Lagos states are one of the two states, even Kwara states, many of them are doing quite a bit. But the conversation is really more around UBEC, because their job is to support the basic education and also local governments. What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on these numbers on the screen. And who would like to go first? I mean, it's quite sad. And to even help set the tone, I was trying to do some research, and UBEC was signed into law 2004. And it was an intervention fund. So what they do is they take 2% of the cumulative statutory releases from the federal government, and that's where they get their money from. Now, the states must show they can actually have a counterpart funding. So if I give you the money, if you can show in your account that you can afford it, then they give you a counterpart funding, and then you have that to fund basic education. You can now use that for infrastructure. What many people don't know is that when UBEC now gives you the money, a percentage of that also goes into administrative, which they handle. So, for example, UBEC also will say, I'll give you books, I'll give you this. From the money they gave you, you have to use their own books, you have to use their own trainers. So they still take a percentage for themselves for all that, but that's even besides the point. But the point is that the funding you get, what do you use it for?
So this Punch report was very, very detailed. According to them, the reporter had to go in disguise as a worker of an NGO, an international NGO, and he visited the schools. He learned that, that the schools did not have enough teachers. The management of the school had to source teachers outside who were paid by parents. So the students will come to school under a free primary basic education policy, only for their parents to end up paying. Edo particularly that you talked about, they pay about 1,500 naira in a public school in Ibienafe, in my own local government.
To do what?
1,500 naira per student.
To do what?
For school fees.
It's illegal, it's wrong.
But it's happening.
It's
Who would investigate this allegation I received? The state government. So, as I said, we will not spare Edo. We have schools in Edo, in Edo North, where students sit on the floor. We have schools that have not received funding. So let's not even talk about that one. Let's just talk about this one. This Punch report also showed that, the state of toilets in that school is worse than you can imagine.
Classroom. Is it toilet you want to have?
Oh, you don't have classroom.
I'll bring people from Edo, especially because I think Edo has the best.
Give me somebody from my own place.
Subeb
So let me talk to the UBEC, Subeb, whatever, who is in charge of Edo North, who is in charge of EBA, who is in charge of South EBA. I want that person to call me.
Okay, no problem. We'll get them for you. But so let's talk about education and funding, basic education.
It feels like today is a lamentation Monday on the show, because we just finished lamenting banks and now we're lamenting education. Obviously, we have a challenge with our educational structure within Nigeria. Our government hasn't prioritized it enough. There's a lot of lip service, a lot of promise and commitment to the educational sector, but we're not saying it. When it comes to diction, when it comes to speaking, when it comes to arithmetics, it is done and finished in primary school. If somebody is going to speak well, it's from primary school. If their maths will be good, it's from primary school. If they would love reading, it's from primary school. Which for me shows how important the primary school system is. And yet we have not prioritized the primary education enough as a country. And we hear that I took a story a few years ago, like I'm sure it was sometime in 2021, where there was a report about some states that have not accessed UBEC funds because they did not provide counterpart funding. And that state governor is campaigning, probably wants to move from state governor to being in the Senate right now, even though you have not accessed UBEC funds that is available for you because you did not provide counterpart funding. We have not.
And you can't provide counterpart funding if you don't have IGR to meet revenue. to match it. So if you don't have money,
listen,
I'm just telling
order of priority.
Don't mix it now. Don't bring IGR inside this matter.
It's part of it now because why? If listen,
they get state allocations.
No, listen, Dr. Nema. If I get a state allocation, this amount, I'm paying salaries, I'm doing health, I'm doing infrastructure, I'm doing other things. It might not be priority for me right now because I'm taking UBEC funding. Now that UBEC funding, I must also have money in this same allocation to match it. For you to be able to match it, still develop, you have to have IGR. That's the only way you can meet up. If not, there's no point.
So I've actually seen it. It was in February last year that SERAP raised the issue that there was hanging 51 billion naira UBEC funds hanging that state governors did not pay a counterpart funding to release, to access it. Yeah. And that, for me, is a major problem.
So that counterpart funding must equal the amount you're expected to get.
Exactly.
Why did they make that policy so?
So that each state is meant to fund,
gift.
State is meant to fund education.
Yes.
The UBEC is supporting the state. So if I give you 2 billion, you must also provide 2 billion so that the schools would access 5 billion.
If I have 2 billion, why will I be coming to you in the first place?
You're missing the point.
You are meant to do it. It's your responsibility.
If you have this,
I'm supporting you.
I will then give you this one.
Okay, to add to it.
Then intervention. Okay.
So now you are now saying, I don't have, that I'm bringing the IGR. I don't have this IGR, so I won't do this. But I'll get my allocation, and my priority will be just to pay salaries. You be governor soon.
Not be governor.
Hey, is it what it is?
So the thing is, we don't prioritize education for whatever reason. If this Western education don't tire us, we should find a way to do traditional education.
Even now I need money.
No. Let's even start from somewhere. At least me, I read nursery school with slate. It was slate that was used. And chalk. Yes, it was slate and chalk that was used. And I learned in my local language and all of that. So if we cannot do Western education, that probably we do not have the resources for it, or we are not ready for it, can we go back to traditional means of education, at least in the primary level? It doesn't stop us from getting the basics that we need. It even equips us more because these children will now have to learn with their environment, things they can find in their environment. Let us redesign that one. But if we're insisting that this Western education is what we're going to do, can we do it well? Exactly. There's a standard amount of what you are going to allocate to education in every budget. Check the budget that we have. We are not putting enough priorities.
Let's go back to the reason why UBEC was started in the first place. In the past, local government exclusively was in charge of basic education. It doesn't concern states. It doesn't concern anybody. Because the rule, true, local government, you're my local government chairman. It's your job to make sure that the schools, neighborhood schools, are functioning. They were not doing their job. So federal government now said, let us start a funding to support you. It's an intervention. So how much are you putting aside for the education? Whatever it is, okay, this is the fund. We're able to get 2% of the cumulative for federal government. They give us that money. When we get the money, okay, we now share it. But for me to give you that money, you must
generate something.
You must show that you can actually use this money. I don't want to dash you money. When you now show that you have the capacity, I will give you the money. Now, what are you doing with the money? FCT, for example, when you got your money, what did you use it for? Infrastructure.
Did they give them the money?
Waste it? Oh,
maybe they not. Now, them be UBEC. They are in the center.
So maybe that's a problem.
You are opening worms. You are opening cans.
Yes, now.
I'm coming. Who rendered the local government redundant? State government.
Yes. Yeah.
They took over state local government funds. We see they fight for the local government autonomy. Sign into law, they're not agree. Houses of Assembly refuse. So this local government, let's leave them. They cannot. But what is your budget? If your budget for education is 20 million, for instance, 2 million should be for UBEC, Abi. If you say you have tertiary other levels of education, make us share them equal. Yeah. Okay, that your 2 million when you give for UBEC now. Is for your own super, your state board. UBEC can then support another 2 million. But you are saying that's not your priority. You are saying you have
want to do roads
because you don't have IGR. The one that they are giving you from federal, what are you going to do with it?
They will build airports.
So, they'll be airports.
And then you are growing a population of uneducated, uninformed young children.
Yes, so
breathing time bomb.
They are moving parts.
For your children.
They are moving parts. So Nigerian, what I've noticed with our politicians is our politicians like to do, we like to flag off projects. We like to go to state and say, we're flagging off legacy projects. I built this bridge. I did this one. And I know that it's important to have infrastructure. But what we've seen is if you don't develop your human capital, your physical infrastructure, they will damage it. The human beings you did not develop will damage. They said, Omota Abako, that is a tip, is what we're seeing in Nigeria. We did not raise our children well. They destroy the buildings and the edifice you build around. So when we prioritize physical projects beyond human development, we are showing that we don't care about our people, we don't care about our future, we don't care about our children. So UNICEF always releases reports. 1 in 3 children do not complete primary school in Nigeria. 1 in 3. So we have primary school. So what would happen to that one? They said between about 27% of children between 6 and 11 do not attend any school at all. We have an educational crisis. They become bandits. They are easily going to become terrorists. They are easily going to start stealing because they don't have any education for a better life.
Okay, let me take this comment, which I think is really important for Mr. Tijani. He says that, "Sis, good morning, how are you? Trust you, Helen. Staff, UBEC is a fraud. Staff working there are contractors only interested in money for their pockets and not any intervention fund." He says that UBEC is funded by 2% consolidation fund of all revenue made by the federal government. Money is not the problem of UBEC, but total sanitation and overhauling of the place. And that's why I say we must do a review. You've had UBEC since 2004 was signed into law. Between 2004 and today, can we review how effective has UBEC been? The money you've given for states, what have you done with it?
Based on this punch report, we have reviewed UBEC. Because the place you can rate UBEC easy the most is in the federal capital.
And exactly. You have a school without chair, without toilets.
This report says
let me shock you for a second.
Leaky roofs. So tell us, which one are you using to pay salary? Who is it? Is it the funding you use to pay teacher salary or provide infrastructure? They say the library in that school is as carcasses, torn books.
Yes. Let me shock you, Nima. This same UBEC, they are trying to say how they can extend it, possibly, to secondary school.
They've not succeeded in primary school.
So the problem is that we've not even seen how effective you've been in the primary school. Because they see how juicy, it's juicy. I send you money. Out of the money I give to you, I, as UBEC, I can say 40% or 20% of it was going to administrative. I'm going to send you books. Books I don't need. For example, Lagos said now, the books they use, we have somebody who is printing their books, but you can still see them send books. And insist. And they insist that to come and do what?
Okay, so the thing is, when we are accepting all of these agreements, we don't put our foot down. Once you hear they will give us money, we don't wait to tick the boxes. These are some of the things that you should discuss. You can't be forcing us to take books when we have books. Are you saying we should abandon our books and just take your own books? Those are some of the conversations we must have. Then I want to ask a question, please. Whose headache is it when students in a locality are not going to school? Is it not the state? Those children belong to the state. Why is the state not shouting? Why is the state not making noise? What is UBEC? UBEC is just coming to support. So leave UBEC out of it. What is the state doing about their citizens, their children who are not going to school? But everybody's minding their business. After all, our own children are in the abroad. Everybody's minding their business. Let all our children come back here. Let us see if they're going to school, especially in that Abuja, if they're going to school in uncompleted buildings.
So while we know that the UBEC might have their own internal, like, when we research shortcomings, if you look at TED funds too, the university will tell you that TED funds started well. They did a lot of huge projects, but after a while, the Nigerian factor enters into the contract. So we're not seeing equal amount of, like if they spend $1 billion, what you see on ground is not worth $1 billion. That can also be the case with UBEC. But UBEC themselves in 2020, still last year, said that 50% of schools in Nigeria lack furniture. So, and they can't do anything on their own. UBEC is not meant to intervene. UBEC is meant to provide counterpart funding. So if states don't bring out money and say, give us funds, they cannot do it. Serap highlighted Abia State, highlighted Kwara State, many states in Nigeria. Majority of the states in Nigeria have not accessed the counterpart UBEC funding from as far back as 2019. And this report was released in 2022.
Based on what you
so how are they funding education? They are not developing any infrastructure. They are just paying salaries.
So based on what you just said now, it will make sense if UBEC says to a state, what you need is furniture. And so what we are giving you, you must use for furniture.
Okay.
Because I think they also regulate at the school. For instance, this FCT school, UBEC should be telling them, you don't even, everything that you need, furniture, teachers, everything is what we must use the money for. They must compel that, at least Then, because human factor happens,
Compare that
what's the
because
ICPC
the
waiting
state
to
and
do?
the local government don't have
Yeah,
sense
what
to
is
do what they need.
ICPC should escort the provision. So if you back is saying you need table and chairs, rather than give the funding in cash, they're giving table and chairs to the school and calling it counterpart funding. ICPC follow the table and chairs to the source.
Why
So make sure that it is not UBEC feeding back their staff with the money or Nigerians happening to themselves in
So
UBEC.
Nigerians cannot regulate themselves. Is that what you are telling me?
No, now.
You see,
Must
it's quite sad because there's the Eco Excellency in Lagos. There is the Edo Best, which is World Bank still give them $70 million. Because they've observed the work they've done and they've applauded Edo State. So if your small community hasn't been reached,
Yeah,
not
you're
because of that.
talking
I'm
about.
talking about last year or 2 years ago. But and I know Kwara Lane has also
Lagos
started.
people, can you mind your
I'm
Lagos
not Lagos
business?
people. I'm just telling you that the work that
I'm
Edo
telling
Best
you.
has been a pioneer. In fact, Lagos also went to Edo to learn. And we learn from Edo, and we use that, and then customize it for Lagos.
No, don't worry.
So you don't have to defend.
No, I must. No, I want.
I'm explaining to you.
Let me put this one
what I
out
know
there.
Edo Best.
I
Now,
just
pick
took
somebody
a
from
girl.
Edo State.
I just took a word
Education
back
to come
home.
here, yes.
Who was in the public school and whose school fees was about that 1,500. And she insisted she doesn't want to go because she was in a school in Lagos State, a private school here. She wants a private school in Edo. And we were sent a bill higher than what she used to pay. She insisted.
That's illegal. That's not the government.
Auntie,
That's somebody.
I am not
we
you
the
bet.
people.
Why is in Edo?
That's we people.
You say World Bank give them now. Then you they talk Edo talk like say you pay Edo. You say World Bank gave them award. And I'm telling you, I just said back a word.
They talk Lagos, I mean
My
Lagos. You
name
live in
is
Lagos.
Abwedaoya. Oh, Lord, Akashatakokia. I am an Edo girl, and I'm telling you, it's not working like that. Let the Edo people come and tell me
When you're talking
otherwise.
about Lagos, you talk with
Don't
such
tell me.
confidence. I
Don't
see,
tell-
because you live in Lagos, I can also tell
Borayo.
you, compete and tell you.
Borayo, if I tell you I know Lagos, I know it. I live in Lagos, and I don't say what
Just
I
like
don't
you know Abuja, you know
But you
Kaduna.
don't live in Edo. You don't have a word there. You don't have your ancestry
No,
there,
but
and you
the-
say you know
but
them.
the thing is,
based on what bank paperwork.
No, but why Muriah would insist is because she went to Edo and she saw
and I
the
saw the
schools
On
that
a 2
work.
weeks visit.
Yes,
I have
that's
my
on one
ancestry
end.
there. My
Yes.
grandmother still lives there. I have
Yes.
nieces,
The
nephews,
state-
cousins,
Yes.
family members. They can't
And-
rest this.
But the truth, the state is big.
Make them do
and they
Edo.
might not
Let
have
Edo to be
gotten.
like Lagos. Let us criticize Edo.
There are
I
places
don't
in Lagos
see
that are
proper weight.
complaining. There are places in Lagos that they don't have
Then
hospital.
let Lagos people talk about it. But when Edo people say we need this development, don't try and tell our government, tell us that we are lying on our government.
There are places, it's not
I
that they're
know,
lying, but they have worked.
senior journalists who are just looking at Edo government and fuming, who are from my region as well. So when we talk about, let us face our government. Government, do what we ask you. Let Edo to even upgrade. Let us be at
Make
par.
I face my Lagos governor.
Hey,
So Welu, how we doing? Eco Excel is doing very well. That's all we can take on today's show. You and your Edo governor, go and sort yourself out. All right, that's all we can take on today's show. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.